So this is our third online meeting, and I know that things have been happening quite a lot from, several task force meetings, several even smaller WhatsApp team meetings, and I've seen you being basically working on this thing almost full time, and I'm very sorry that it took a lot of your work time on this, but I'm also very impressed by your team workship and by the all the creativity and dedication and very inspiring things you shared on different WhatsApp team group as well. So thank you very much for letting us being a part of this, and thank you for putting your all in this. Just without further ado, um, just one moment. The agenda today, as we have already sent out the emails to you of what to expect today, we have a bit of a recap, which I'm going to get you through something that we have done in like less than 5 minutes, hopefully. Then it will be the task force lead the reports. Three topics that we would like it covered. So each person will have around 10 minutes at maximum, the curatorial concept and overview of the storyline and the panels in different sections that you're responsible for. Secondly is the list of objects. And thirdly is on some initial ideas for visualizations that you think we could do. All of this will be very useful for Priya's team to be able to take in the process of storyboarding. So after this, we're going to take your work on, and we're going to start working on outside. And the next time you'll see each other in the 19th of February, we're going to show you the first draft of what Priya has. Then it's a peer-to-peer discussion. So aside from what you have presented, Priya and Nace would like to learn a bit more from you so they get to do things in a way that will be very coherent to what you are envisioning as well on the storyboarding process. Then we're going to review the result of the final name of the presentation, more or less. And just gonna show you our thinking behind it as well, how we think things could be adapted a bit just to be fitting what is going on in the four task force panels. Then Priya's going to present a bit more, touch base a bit more on the digital strategy and what next for that we would like to ask you to help contributing while we're working on the process of storyboarding. Then lastly, some of the next step updates and closing from me. So without further ado, I'm just going to update you what we have been doing from the last time we met in October until now. So as you have been participating in a task force meeting throughout November, December, and I have seen that a lot of things has been put on, a lot of contribution has been made, and you're now like have more or less the drafty version of the overarching panels and your object selection. Aside from that, you have also contributed to us, which I'm going to show you a bit of a sneak peek of that. Now, the individual assignment two, which will become UNESCO's social media post to campaign building up the heat towards our virtual exhibition. As you know, we've asked you to do to send us photos in four themes: the most unusual or unexpected objects that relate to life at sea in Southeast Asia, and the culture, the item that reflect the cultural connection to nature, and the object that are twins. And lastly, the activities or object that are your passions or your current projects. So we've got like a zillion of it, which result in us being able to make social media posts altogether 40 social media posts, do you believe? So these are some of the examples of the most unusual and unexpected item you see, like we talk about the cassowary bones and stuff, and you made into a post for us. So these are some of the write-up that Anais have helped in making it like, a very decent write-up from your information that you gave us, from the photo that you gave us. And these are like some of the weird stuff that we love most. Like, so from the sponge to the cassowary bone to this whatever bird head looking thing to what jars share with us these giant bones. Um, Amazing and inspiration. Our comms team at UNESCO are working very hard to make a very fun post out of these. And aside from that, it kind of had a bit of a spin off to a massive collection of bird and fish theme. So from, the stingray, different birds in the mid, like beautiful birds, ornament and in everyday life objects and all as well. It's amazing. post. So you will see some of your names in there as well that we kind of mentioned you as a curator. Um, some of the items that reflect your cultural connection to nature. We have like a lot of posts from Jar, you see there, and from from Hayati as well. This beautiful door, and the one from Thailand from Kun Phanom Gon is also there. So as well as the one from Brunei, from Kun Benjawan, the folklore museum that helped connecting Thailand to like another countries outside our five countries, the Philippines. Amazing work. And the one from the National Museum Bangkok on the shell is also very inspiring. We have the museum object that are twins, which is super fun, like the one from Indonesia and Bangkok on the Ganesha, the twin pottery from Singapore, from the ACM Singapore and Baba Nyonya Museum in Malaysia, and the one that you say that like that is like between Malaysia and the British Museum as well. So amazing works, which also lead to some of the spin-off of beautiful stories about our long time cultural relationships between the countries, like how these elephants travel from Thailand to Brunei, like also like about the shared cultural route through the textile of Patola as well. And some of the photos that showcase your passion. I'm so happy that we get to feature your pictures in our social media as well. Also, some of your research, like Kun Gandara's research on the pottery as well, is amazing. Plus, some of the spin-off that relate to the ICH, the inspiring story on the living heritage safeguarding in museum activities, the one in Songkhla by Kun In Sacha, the one by Kun Chomsi and Kun In Sacha together for this one on the museum and on the myth and puppetry is amazing, and the one from Kun Tian as well, the from Baba Nyonya Museum. So you will get to see these stories keep coming out from UNESCO Facebook, Instagram, and X soon over the course of a year. And we hope that you're going to help sharing that for us. So that's the update from UNESCO's side. Like we also have been busy, but we know you're been busier. So I'm going to give the floor now to the task force report. Unless somebody would like to comment, Priya would like to say anything before, or we can jump in.
No, yeah, LK, as we discussed, I think we hand over the time to the task force
Mhm.
leaders because this
Yes.
session is primarily to listen to materials from them.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to our task force meeting for now. Yes. How can I stop sharing my screen? Or I did already, didn't I? Okay, sorry,
No,
sorry.
you,
I'm
yeah, you
sorry.
want shared now. Yes.
Okay, great. So if we could go by numbers because it goes in the same narrative. So task force number one, please. I found Cheryl. So Cheryl, I'm making you a co-host so you can also share the screen. The task force number one is Jar or what's it? The task force number one is Kun Cheryl. Kun Cheryl, are you there? Kun Cheryl? Ah. Mm, I think he has a bit of a microphone problem.
Okay, we could give it a minute or two because it's
Yeah.
ideal to hear the presentations in
Yes,
the
by
sequence.
in the sequence is
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. So I'm going to WhatsApp him. Hi, Cheryl. Are you there? Okay. Unless the team member who has the file will be able to help. Hmm. Everyone, I talked to Cheryl. If anybody in Task Force 1 has the file, anybody has a file, can you raise your hand? Cheryl would like to ask you, he's trying to join from his phone, but could only do the verbal. If you can share the screen for him or send me the file, that would be lovely. Or is it the the Word file that is in the chat jar
Yeah,
for
I think
somebody?
it's in the one in the group
Is
chat.
it that one?
Yeah, that Word
Okay.
document.
So I'm going to share the screen for him, but at the same time, he will try to join from his phone to be able to speak. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. Sorry everyone for the technical glitch. But Cheryl, whenever you can speak. Otherwise, he was actually very well connected by phone before. Okay.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, I got it now.
Okay. We're
All
still
right.
I'm still trying to load your file. Okay. But
All
oh,
right.
okay. But do you want to share the screen or you want to talk because it's a Word file, right? So you can start talking now while I'm trying to load it up.
Okay. Right.
All right, please
Mm.
please start.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I believe I sent the files for everyone's in the groups, and then I believe I choose the scale, feather, and fins as a title, and then I trust the ICROM choosing the creatures in creation that connect Southeast Asia. And then I follow what the Priya said in give it a suggestion about the introduction through the lens of indigenous knowledge. And then, another one is through the lens of the colonial knowledge. So from the introduction, we given a subtitle. The subtitle, yeah, can you go to the table? Yeah. Yeah, the tables we describe there is a title, subtitle, and the explanations, and then what we need to include it in the every subtitles. So, like through the lens in the indigenous knowledge, I divide by two subtitle is a nature as a teacher or either nature is our teacher And another one is interconnected life, that we all are connected. There is a subtitle. Elaboration for the nature as a teacher. You can see the indigenous knowledge communities, because we learn about everything through observing the animal, birds, and sea life. It's like forest guidance, lands. This one inspired me from the Avatar. You can see the Avatar. You can see the Avatar. So that is inspired us a lot. So, messenger of the sky, where the birds signal seasons, weather change, everything. You can see that everything's like there is a consider the local knowledge, wisdom of the sea, and from that I describe what kind of object and artifacts, a picture, or anything material evidence to add on in these sections. Maybe poem and metaphor. Each country have a different metaphor. It's like Malay, Thai. Like we discover our theme, or what kind of. Like we wanted to describe, to teach someone young generation to be kind. Okay, you are like snack, talk too much, something like that. Yeah. Okay, and then archaeology findings, like the object Naga, Garuda, and Makara, because every object represents the how human need to be work a balanced life, to teach to be balanced. Okay, and then the second one is we are connected. We are all connected. Human, animal, and nature exist in mutual dependence. We are connected together. So we are respect each other. Our life, hunting and fishing, everything, every single socialized. We actually we are living with them. So story, preserve knowledge, folk tales, past values, survival skills, and environmental care, protecting the future, respect for wildlife, ensure survival for generation to come. And this for the object or artifact or document or whatever material, any evidence, I go to the Ashik dance. Ashik dance, there is a practice, Tari Ashik. Being practiced in Patani and Kelantan, Thai and Malaysia, be practiced in the royal, to represent of to tell the story about how sad the queen, the princess, about losing their the birds, the lovely birds. Yeah. And then another one is Tingkat Ulu Kabau. Also in Indonesia and the Minangkabau, and then a part of Negeri Sembilan in Malaysia, practicing they wear a headdress, like folding the mimic like a shape buffalo horns, because the buffalo is considered a very sacred animal for this kind of communities. And then Rumah Gadang also the same, Gonjong, and I'm not sure the corn dance, but corn dance is related mimic with the monkey and animals. Yeah, monkey, yeah. And we can also including the cave painting, rock art prehistory everywhere. You can see that from the Sulawesi, Kalimantan, the world oldest figurative arts, 100 years. Yes, in the Sulawesi was found, and then near Cave Tambor, Malaysia, and Thailand, Udon Thani there. But I'm not sure if we cannot find in Brunei yet. Yeah, so we go to another section through the lens of colonial knowledge. I just go direct to the point, Priya. It is a very good point to do this, because from the lens of colonial, we can see the recording nature through the colonial eyes. Colonial giving us a new era of documentations, because in Southeast Asia, we lack of documentation, especially in the Malay words and the other part. I'm not sure the Thai. Thai is one of the country who not colonized before, but I'm not sure about Thai perspective. But colonial naturalists come to Southeast Asia, documented every animals, and that they opens doing preservation for the knowledge, and they're giving a new name for the animal. It's like what happened to the Raja birdwing is was found in in Borneo. So the whalers named the species the honor Sir James Brooke, 1803 to 1868, the first white Raja of Sarawak. Before this, only local people only call it kupu-kupu only. Yeah, something like that. Yes, and then the second one is exploiting nature for empire. Colonial tools, trade goods. Normally, they write the maps. Where is the object? Where is the animals come from? Where is the animal populations? That's populations. They start first doing documentation, and they control. It's like they want to expand their empire. You know, where they do documentation every each animals. That's when this one is considered is dangerous. You don't have to go this way, something like that. You can see the number one is hunting habit is it considered a status, symbol status in European style, especially in the elite era, elite people. They got to hunt a big game in Africa, in Asia, to show bravery and control. They wanted to control. They want to become consider the supremacy about to control the world, something like that, to show them they are very strong. So you can see the from the evidence, I can say, I'm not sure, maybe we can relate with the Jim Thompson as a businessman who helped revitalize the Thai silk industry in 1950 and 1960. Yeah, because using the silk from the worm, yeah, it's animals too. Yeah, maybe sea cucumbers for medicine and culinary use. They use a culinary because the sea cucumber is very healthy food. Yeah, something like that. And sperm waste from the cosmetic industry, perfume and lipsticks. People is using that before. They kill the sperm whale to get a lot of things, meat or some things. And they maybe we can show to the exhibition the maps, document, canvas, and photos, whatever activity having for the colonial trade goods. Also, as I read one of the books from during the World War II, Dutch East India Company (VOC) have they killing they got a shark fish for the major industry for meat and the skin, fin, fertilized, and oils, including vitamin A for they provide for the soldier during World War II. I just need some books as a reference resources, but I read this one. Okay. And the last one is about Cabinet of Curiosity. Curiosity is when colonists come in, they introduce zoos, exhibition, and museum to the Southeast Asia. So as a proof, like Frank Swettenham start open the Perak Museum in Taiping, in Malaysia, and they give it from that idea. giving a lot of inspiration to us in Southeast Asia to open more natural history museum. I believe that that is a direct to the points. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think that's all.
Intense and amazing.
Yep. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Shall we move on to the next one, or anybody would like to reflect anything from what you have just heard?
LK, do we have a small window to comment as the
Ye-
groups present, or do you think that would disrupt the schedule?
It won't. It should be fine, like say a minute or two, if anybody would like to say, or if you would like to jump in for a bit. Katie first, please.
Yeah, I think just a small point on the sea cucumber bit. Actually, I think that one's a little bit can be also maybe discussed in a bit more complex of a way, because the trade of sea cucumber, which is also called trepang, has historically involved Makassar traders from Sulawesi also, and this was in response to demand from China. So I think I guess the point about colonial exploitation is valid, but then also maybe it's something that we can also acknowledge that the trade wasn't just something that was happening with the Westerners who came into the region. Yeah, I guess we can think more about how to frame all of this.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's it.
Thank you. Priya?
Yeah, LK, I have quick points. So thanks, Sharul and group. That was a very, very multi-layered presentation. And for a preliminary presentation, I think it was very rich. Clearly, a lot of work has gone into it. In terms of the selection of materials, this is already very diverse because you all are looking at stories, belief systems, courtly dance, headdresses, and even cave paintings, right? So here I am thinking ahead of how this is going to pose a challenge in terms of storyboarding. But I mean, it's great. Just because storyboarding is going to become that much more complicated does not mean that we simplify our storyline. So I like the material diversity. But I'm going to go back to a point that I think Kathy had raised, and we discussed this the last time. So Sharul and group have done a great job of bringing this idea of animals through the lens of indigenous knowledge and then colonial knowledge and institutionalization, right? But the tone seems to be where the colonial is seen as being extractive and exploitative and utilitarian, and indigenous systems are very, very benign. So maybe we need to complicate the story a little bit rather than construct it as a naive binary, right? Can we think of how we wish to combine and complicate the indigenous and the colonial as overlapping or converging at many points? I know it's difficult, and we're all going to have to work together collectively. But maybe we need to tone down this kind of stark binary. That's my immediate observation. And Sharul, did you say that your group already has a list of assigned readings? Or will you all, at the end, like to give us some readings which you all referred to for your research? Because remember, ultimately, we did say that this exhibition is going to be some sort of an educational or a pedagogical resource for tertiary education for university students. So if you don't have these readings or sources already, that's completely fine. But I would urge all the groups and individuals, as you all are coming up with your panels, whether writings on individual objects or as a group, it would be great to maintain a reading list so that then we can add it as a layer to our respective sections in the exhibition. And, I'm just going to raise one last point, LK, and this
Mhm.
is for all of us to think, right?
Mhm.
So let's take this example of the indigenous versus the colonial lens. Now, given the time constraints and our locations, there's a limit to which we can complicate these ideas, which are very big, right? So we also need to ask ourselves, to what extent do we want this exhibition to be an absolutely finished product? Because we are not a downtown museum that is under pressure to, open and launch an exhibition, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This exhibition could really continue to be a work in progress, where we do invite other students and educators who continue to visit the site, either to leave posts or annotations, which can be integrated at a later date.
Mhm.
So this is a kind of larger question that I would open up to UNESCO and to the participants, that to what extent does this need to be an absolutely finished product, or, can it be open-ended, open to further conversations and comments? So I'll just leave it at that. And of course, we
That would
could,
be something we would discuss at the next section of this workshop as well, where we talk more about the what next and the part on digital strategy and process presentation. Am I right?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else before we move on to the second task force? Okay. The second one, Katie, would you like to share the screen yourself?
Yeah, I will try to
Please
do that.
do.
Hmm. What's this? Okay. Can you all see?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay, then I'll start. So I think we didn't really come up with the title for the section, so we just used the same one that we were assigned. And so for us, we have an overarching panel that we put together. So I'll just read it out quickly. This section explores various ways that animals have been woven into the traditions, practices, and daily life of our societies in Southeast Asia through various artifacts, including sculptures, ritual objects, household items, and natural history specimens. Lions and birds are transformed into mythical creatures, while crocodiles and mouse deer become characters of local fables. In these ways, animals gain religious meaning and are also imbued with moral values, respectively, taking on important cultural roles in local communities. Other creatures, such as birds and turtles, also become auspicious symbols in everyday objects, meant to make life better and easier for their owners. So it's just a draft, so open to editing and everything. But I guess the main thing is that the different points are like trying to bring together the objects that we have. So I think in terms of the storyline, so we worked on this by bringing together our objects and then trying to draw out common themes or like some sub themes within the section. So three that we identified are beliefs and symbols, storytelling, and everyday life. So for the first one, we focus on how animals are incorporated into religious and ritual practices. So an example might be animals that are reimagined and transformed into mythical creatures, or animals that take on spiritual importance and meaning, or animals that are inscribed on objects that are used in religious rituals. And for storytelling, we have animals that feature in local stories, maybe like oral histories or folk tales that actually can also end up on objects that are used in everyday life. So we have characters in folk tales as well as animals that have well-known stories. And for the last one, everyday life, we focus on animals as auspicious symbols in objects that are used in everyday life. So this might be objects that were meant to protect the owners, or that could be meant to bring prosperity. And here, I think one of the nuances that we wanted to highlight is that there are different symbols that are used in local indigenous communities and also in settler groups. Although this one, I think, I guess like what is local, like whether it's a group that has settled for a long time or a group that's indigenous, I think this one we can discuss further. I'll bring it up later. But also I think there are some objects that can actually fall into more than one of these sub-themes. But for now, we kind of put together. So this is just like a visual representation of the objects that we have in our section. So I think this is 12 objects that we have. And we have the list as well. So I'll just go through that quickly. But yeah, I think like I just mentioned, I think one of the things that might be a bit tricky is thinking about objects that fall in more than one sub-theme. But so maybe in terms of display, a view that can show maybe like more than one object at once might be good, because then a viewer would be able to look at everything as an overall picture and then compare or something like that. Yeah, so for individual objects, we have Garuda sculpture. I'll just go through this quickly, okay? And we have Balini Singa, and also a bronze drum. This one is used to request rain, and there is a water bird, I believe, that is depicted here. And then we have these gold plaques that are sacred objects placed in shrine. And then for, yeah, still the same section, we have this specimen of a crocodile. And I think the main point that we want to draw out here is that some crocodiles are believed to be keramat, where there are shrines or they hold the spirit of a certain guardian. And for storytelling, we have the mouse deer, and we also have this coconut grater. And this one, I think it's more of the, I don't know if it's a stretch, but then the dwarf elephant, so this one also counts as like a household object, but also the dwarf elephant features in a lot of local stories, or it's well known among locals through stories. And for everyday life, we have this tin coinage. And then we also have the Banggao and Pokok. And we have a lime pot, which is used for beetle chewing. And we also have porcelain plates from shipwreck site. And that's kind of it. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
Wow. And I like your idea of visualization, that is nice. If everything kind of, before we zoom into each of the object, everything is like kind of being spread out, being in the same, say, web page or something that you see, and you can compare between different ones. And that's something worthy to note about when we talk to the web developer.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody would like to jump in for one or two comments before I hand it over to Priya? Everybody's happy about this. So Priya, please.
Yeah, again, Kathy and group, that was excellent. Also, a very rich segment for a preliminary presentation. Y'all have clearly put a lot of thought in, how your objects can appear or can be delivered to the final audience, right? You've been able to organize these objects in a well-defined storyline. Kathy, you made this quick comment on the possibility of further complicating or problematizing the idea of the local, right? So how do we define what is indeed local? Because we do know that the usage or the meaning of animals, even as motifs, has enjoyed a degree of mobility and cultural translation. So I was just wondering that for your section, at least the middle two pillars, and then the
Yeah.
intro and the conclusion could pick up based off your research. If we could remain attentive to these sorts of cultural transfers or translations, then it helps us to highlight the idea of shared heritage, sharedness, or how we are bound together through these repeated mobilities and networks might be a good idea. So essentially, just to remind your team and the next team, the middle two pillars, to pay greater attention to the fixity of location vis-a-vis mobility and cultural transfers. But yeah, great. Thanks so much for bringing this to us.
Thank you. Okay, I'll stop sharing now.
On to the next one. Brian. Then Hazim for the last one. So Brian first. Can you share the screen, please?
Let me try. Can you all see the
Yes,
screen?
we're looking at it.
Okay. So our task force sort of idea and theme was to actually look at material and artistic expressions. So our approach was slightly different. We had two main areas that we thought of looking into. So firstly, the focus on materiality, looking at objects that are made of interesting materials that actually come from animals and birds. So I think something like that would have certain educational aspects to it in terms of illegal animal trade and its relations to contemporary society and how some materials are built differently in the past versus how is it built today in terms of contemporary ideas of the illegal animal trade. And then the other focus would be on the objects themselves, looking at objects with forms, designs, motifs that are actually from animals. So from the natural world, so naturalistically, animals that appear in the natural world versus animals from mythical animals. And so I briefly came up with some of the subsection texts and propose subsection titles. I mean, these are all drafts. They are still work in progress. So I will just read it out quickly. So the natural world, I mean, the first subsection would be ideas of material. So we titled it Material Creatures, Material of Animals, Material from Animals. The natural world is a source of materials for creative endeavors of artisans and craftsmen from various communities in the region. Many of the materials used to make prized objects come from animals, from softer materials like fur, feathers, to harder materials like leather, bone, ivory, and shell. Materials that were valued by communities were often tedious to obtain and process locally. Some more prized materials had to be exchanged to trade with other communities further afield. Due to value ascribed to these, some of these materials, making objects out of them made them luxury items associated with prestige and of a spiritual nature. So we were looking at what the other museums from our task force could actually suggest in terms of the objects that we had that were made of some animal materials. So out of the 5 museums that were working on this in this task force, I think one common aspect was mother of pearl, right? So I think that was one of the aspects that we were looking at. And also going on to the next section. Oh, I'm so sorry, the text on the site is on the wrong slides. Okay, so this on section 2, we are looking at creature forms, objects inspired by animals. So we are mainly actually looking at the ideas of how artisans and craftsmen were inspired by the forms that they saw in nature from the animal world. So that links to the first subsection. We are looking at the natural world in terms of materials and the source of a lot of the inspiration in terms of animals, coming to from material, looking at form and how these forms were inspired by actual animals that they could observe. And from then, we actually move on to looking at mythical animals. So the idea of the mythical animal and the idea and concept of it is a construct based on the natural animals that we observe in the natural world. So that brings us to objects and why artisans and craftsmen would want to imbue, these objects with the forms and designs that were actually inspired by, these natural animals and mythical animals. So I think for the animals that we actually came across in what the museums could offer, a lot the objects had birds. So we were looking at mainly objects with birds from the natural world. So we're also looking at mythical birds like the Garuda, Phoenix, and Hamsa, mythical serpent forms, snakes, nagas, dragons, and makaras. And we're also considering if we should just focus on one category, or should we, look at both birds and the serpent forms, because a lot of these forms are shared among communities in the region. So we came up with our sort of object list. I will just roughly share that with everybody. So we put together some of the objects that we could gather from the different collections. So a lot of them had bird motifs. So they came in different forms represented by birds that were from nature. Then they were mythical birds. And then we also had other sort of categories like serpents and other bird forms. So we are trying to look at objects that all the different museums shared, but it was quite difficult because some collections were quite limited. So we're not sure exactly how or what's the best strategy forward in terms of selection or narrowing down of the objects to be featured. I think some of the other things that we were also thinking of was, for example, at ACM, we do have a lot of objects from other parts of Southeast Asia that are not, in this scope that we are in, with the 5 countries that are participating in this project. Whether, we would want to bring in, other objects from other regions that, our museums actually hold, or should we just, stick to the 5 countries that are, in this project? Yeah, so I think that's generally what we came up with. So I will stop sharing and maybe we will get some of the feedback.
The last part is a very good question. Thank you very much, Brian. Just to answer from the scope of project management first, because it will be the easiest and most ideal way if the objects are first selected among the 10 museums, just to make it's actually simpler for UNESCO to go around like obtaining permissions and all. But if it's necessary to the storyline, to the way you tell the story, then it's not just impossible to do that. I see also in the first task force presentation that you also look outside the 10 friends that you have to, like, for example, the Hat Yai Museum of Princess Sirintharan Anthropology Center, or like some other museums in Brunei as well, which is actually good. I mean, I know that that's your reference point on different things, but if it ends up that at the end the objects are also relevant and could not be found within the 10 museum participating, then we'll be able to help in formally, reaching out to them and add them in as our friends. I mean, that's a possibility. Just a bit difficult, but so your first tier of thinking would be among us, and the second tier of thinking would be like, okay, we gotta find more objects from friends. But because like the thing that we prioritize is on, like, the quality of the way you tell the story, aside from the fact that we have this 10 founding museums to help in creating the stories, but it would actually prove the point of the spirit of the project if it ends up that we need to reach out to more museums. It means that this project is actually relevant, that you can't really work among just 10 museums. You really need to reach out for more to talk about this, intercultural dialogues and different things that we're trying to send as a key message. So
Yeah, just to
I say
inject.
yes, ultimately.
So because at ACM we do have objects from a lot of other countries from the region.
Yeah.
So like some of the objects that I have in the list are maybe from Myanmar or from Cambodia, which are not, from the 5 participating countries
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
project. But then our project is titled Shared Heritage in the Region.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's, I think, something that we can think about whether, if we can bring in some of these objects, which is actually also from the museums that are participating, but
Yeah.
they paint sort of a wider, bigger picture. That
Yeah.
could be one way of working as well.
Exactly. I think you get to the point. Yes. But Priya, I'll just finish my sentence. You get to the core point of this project, and I really embrace that. And I mean, we would not have the problem for that, because when we see in a long term the life of this particular project, we see beyond the end of 2026 for this phase 1, because we're looking for phase 2 in the future, and that will expand to more countries. So your items that maybe from Myanmar, from Laos, from Cambodia are still relevant to the whole story of the shared heritage. Priya, please.
Brian, thanks for that question, which is very timely as the storyline evolves. And I'm just going to echo what LK has said. I think right from the beginning, going back to the workshops that we had in Bangkok, the messaging I hope, of the workshops was that we really do want to transcend geopolitical borders or categories, right? So it's one thing that we have 10 museums participating here, but we do want twin objects or objects that can be brought in a contrast or a conversation from other museums. So we clearly want to transcend these geopolitical borders in the interest of telling a more transcultural story of shared heritage. And I think, Brian, your question also preempts the next segment, right, LK? The next, where we are looking at peer-to-peer review. So Anais, LK, and I had a meeting prior to this workshop a few days ago, and this is exactly what we're looking at, where we want participants, we want all of y'all to recommend objects or archival materials to other groups. So you may not be a part of Task Force 2 or 3, but if you think you recognize or you know a certain object from your museum or elsewhere in Southeast Asia that speaks to it, or if you have a song or a dance or a performance that can lend some kind of a cultural context, we would welcome those recommendations, regardless of where they come from. So I think our question is great to preempt that peer-to-peer review that we're about to facilitate in some time. LK, you want to open the floor to comments to Brian's presentation?
Anybody else would like to, please? It's a very free flow of comment. Anyone would like to jump in? Anais, please.
I wanted to say that I appreciate your thought about making it a contemporary education project too, that it translates into the present and the future, about the animals being trafficked, and I think it's an idea worth keeping and expanding on.
I think that speaks to everybody in the group of Task Force 3 as well. And of course, to applaud also the teams of Task Force 1 and 2. And we have one more before we open a more plenary discussion towards this in the next session. So please, the last team, we have Kun Hazim. He's super fast in sharing the screen.
Wait, I have to.
You have to click that tiny button in below. Yeah.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
We see half of it because it's not the full screen version.
All right. Is this the full version?
Yes.
All right,
Perfect.
okay. Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be representing the final group, Task Force number 4, the conclusion group. Our group consists of 4 members. Susan from Lee Kong Chian Natural History Museum from Singapore, Insacha from Thailand, Folklore Museum, Mutita from National Museum Bangkok from Thailand, and myself from Malay Technology Museums, Brunei Darussalam. So in this presentation, I will explain to you about our exhibition content, especially the introductory panel, and then we are going to list down our artifacts and specimens that we want to showcase in our exhibition. And then we will propose ideas for our visualizations, especially for this conclusion part. For our content, for the introductory panel, we refer to the proposed idea, which is this one. For the conclusion part, we narrowed down a few key words or key elements to guide our introductions. The first one is exchanges, journey, and mobility. To explain about the social mobility around these regions, cause the creations of cultural heritage in Southeast Asia, and then the Western centric, where we want to explain about how the Western scholars explain our cultural heritage, particularly our artifacts and our monuments. And then the third points, we want to explain about our universalisms and indigenous. The fourth one, the connections, how things in Southeast Asia connected to each other. And lastly, the animals, ecosystems. And I want to take a note as well, based on the previous presentations, Cheryl explains about the indigenous and Western lands. Second group explains about the animals woven into our culture, particularly beliefs and symbols, religions, and then the folktales, everyday lives of traditional communities. And the third group mentions about the materiality and object that inspired by animals. So I believe all of these three things embedded in this topic that I listed for the conclusion part. For the next slide, I'm going to share with you the main key points that we want to include in our panel. The first one is material culture and biological specimen. These things reflect long-term cultural exchange through migration, trading, maritime trading, the religion's influence, warfare, and environmental change such as earthquake, flood, drought that cause people to move from one place to another and indirectly creates cultural heritage. And then animals on air, land, and water play a central role in Southeast Asian artifacts, representing shared ecosystems, belief systems, and cultural values across the regions. Sharing heritage in Southeast Asia is something that has been around for a long time. It is long-standing. This can be proved from our similar motifs, forms, and functions of our material culture, shaped by maritime networks and human mobility. Western interpretations of our culture, our artifacts, our monuments, often focus on the aesthetic of the item itself, often overlooking the local symbolic meanings and belief systems. That's what we found based on our findings. Local religions and indigenous cosmologies, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, as well as animistic belief, shape rich symbolic traditions within our culture. And last but not least, to praise and mention UNESCO for this initiative to promote regional collaborations within Southeast Asia, particularly in this case, Brunei Darussalam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Singapore. We hope our panel content not only represents our finding, but also summarizes other groups' contributions. And I hope after this, we can work together to find the final voice for our conclusions part, and we hope the overall exhibitions can be finalized in this introduction panel. This is the article for the panel that we drafted. The yellow one is basically the points, and then we involve the the artifacts that we showcase in this online exhibitions from 4 groups. And then this one, interpretation of this shared heritage often shaped through Western perspective. And then we mentioned the art specimens showcased in second group, and so on. This is only draft. We need to fix this after we discuss further from other groups. This is our highlights. Basically, we have actually 10 artifacts that we want to include in these exhibitions for conclusion group. But this is our highlight. 4 artifacts from 4 different museums. The first one, elephant bone, this one. And then languai in the middle with snake and frog motifs. Saw from a sawfish from Thailand. The elephant is from Singapore. This is from Brunei, and this is from Folklore Museum. No, this is from National Bangkok. And the last one is Kole Boat Pro with dragon motif from Southern Thai Museum. This is the full list of our artifacts and specimen. We divide them into 3 categories. The first one is the air zone, consisting of bronze kettle drum with bird's motif. This is Celapa from Brunei with bird-shaped Celapa. And then the last one is Keris from Thailand with kingfisher motif. And then the second zone, we focus on the land. These are the artifacts, the specimen that we want to exhibit in land zone. We have elephant skull, we have elephant foot, we have elephant thigh bones, and lastly, we have the coconut grate with elephant shape, elephant grater. And last one, we have water zone, focus on these artifacts, languai with frog and snake motifs, the Kole Boat Pro with dragon motifs, and 2 specimens of saw from sawfish from Thailand and from Singapore and Thailand. So altogether, we have 10 artifacts and specimen, 5 to be specific, 5 artifacts and 5 specimen. As for visual, we want to focus on this exhibition around this title, the animals from air to land to water. So for the air zones, we want to focus on the sky, flight, lightness, with the design of birds, wings, clouds, with color white and light blue for the background. And then we want to put some sounds or voice, whistling sounds, birds chirping, and seagulls. The display, we have Keris, Celapa, bronze, and kettle drum. As for lands, you want to focus on the earth theme with the design graphic of wood, soil, rock with brown colors. And then for the sounds, we want to have like insect chirping sounds. And for the display, we have the coconut grater, elephant skull, elephant thigh, and elephant foot. And the last zone is the water zone. We'll focus on the oceans, rivers, and waterfall with the graphic of river, waterfall, waves, with blue and turquoise as the background colors. For the sounds, we want to have like soft water flowing sounds or maybe waves. And for the display, we want to have like, we will display saw from a sawfish, languai, Kole Boat Pro from Thailand. And last but not least, of course, we want to have a close-up 3D rotation of the items, i.e. augmented reality. This is the summary of the exhibitions that we want to showcase to everyone. So basically, as you can see, there's a title, and then there's we emphasize on the land, river, and sky. And then some of the highlights, the skull, elephant skull, the languai, the sawfish, and the Kole Boat Pro. So where people can directly click and see the augmented reality of these items, and of course the explanation as well. And we want to have to be more interactive with the viewers. We want to have the interactive map showing the location of the animals around Southeast Asian countries. Some activities like pop-up quiz and Q&A for the viewers. That concludes my presentation. If you have any question or advice, you may share after this. Thank you so much.
I'm wowed by the super clear vision and direction, almost like you could just go with it to talk to the designer kind of thing. Thank you so much, Kun Hazim and team. So over to you, Priya.
Yes, thanks Hazim and team, for helping to summarize the key themes that appear in the previous 3 pillars. And I actually wanted to say that this conclusion, right, or the points that you lay out before us are a very nice way to check and to verify if the previous 3 pillars are meeting these points. Actually, likewise with the intro. So the intro and conclusion are really sort of setting the tone and direction for what goes in the pillars in between. And so I just had a very quick comment that Hazim and team have laid out their concept map or their interactive map based on air, land, and water, right? But I'm just going back to Brian's presentation. And of course, Brian's group raised this, that there seems to be an overemphasis on birds, in one segment of that particular presentation. So I'm wondering then, do we correct that overemphasis on birds to bring in, land and water much more? Or do we then change the conclusion to fit what goes on in the middle two pillars and to state what the limitations of this exhibition might be? So we really need to pay attention to the fact that the intro and the conclusion must echo or mirror what goes on in terms of the content main. I don't know what LK and Anais have to say to this.
I can jump in with my comments over. I loved listening to all of these presentations. I meet you, Priya, with this idea of introduction conclusion, but also I know that it was extremely difficult, and from the WhatsApp conversations that the ones the task force working on intro and conclusion did not know what the others were working on, so they were working in the blind. And I feel the birds have a prominent role, but that we can rediscuss. But then we can, the aim of the task force says we're also having a smaller group for everyone to discuss, and the discussions have been so fruitful. And then I think it's even possible in the way you work, Priya, that you can even move things from the conclusion to another pillar and from the other pillars to the conclusion. Now, what I see in the something in the intro and in the conclusion that meet is that same conversation about indigenous West versus Western and colonial narratives. And I agree with your point, Priya, that we don't want to over simplify. And I noticed something again when Hazim mentioned narratives that are said indigenous and then Hindu, Buddhist, and Islamic, and then Western. And well, I feel that these three big religions in Southeast Asia have something in between because they're not really indigenous. They're also imported from other parts of the world, but they're not Western either. And then it means also that the exhibition is an opportunity to find answers and finds angles through the collection rather than, and I think I also meet with Priya's earlier comment, is it a finite, we don't need to find an answer. What is indigenous, what is not indigenous? We just, I think, find ways to navigate rather than finding answers and continue to comment on. So that was just my idea on and reflections on seeing all of these presentations.
Sure.
Thank you.
LK, could I respond to Anais's sort of comments? So, I totally recognize this, Anais, that this is just the first time actually that the four groups are perhaps properly seeing each other's work, right? So from here, what we are getting into is a kind of peer-to-peer review. And perhaps from here, it's a great opportunity for every group to read what the other pillars have come up with and to either try and augment their own list of artifacts or text or, to trim, right, to be able to have some kind of a coherence. So to your point about the Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, and animistic, I think it's great that Hazim's group brings or raises those categories because then we can use it as a checklist to see how we are doing in terms of the spread of objects across the exhibition. Actually, at the moment, it seems like we don't have an even spread. So I'm wondering if, certain cultural categories could be represented more. So I'm saying that this is a good opportunity to exchange, to correct, and to edit individual pillars and lists. So perhaps from here, we could actually begin this kind of peer-to-peer review, both for research, text, and visualization.
Exactly. You seamlessly transition to the next session. Thank you. So so that will be like the opening of the floor, right, Priya?
Yes,
But
yes.
I think like everybody also needs some of the time to, you know, digest on what has just been presented. But at the same time, I mean, we would love to hear like your immediate reflections in a way, which would be very, very useful for how we're gonna get this, like, you know, tackle it on and move on to prepare some of the draft storyboard for you. So anybody would like to jump in and reflect for a bit of how, like, right now we have like 4 kind of very, very good, very well narrated stories, but may go in a different directions in a way. How would you think there'll be a way to find, like, I see a lot of people putting things in a chat, but at the same time, we would love you to also turn on the mic and probably like reflect also. I see Sharul say something about local genius, not indigenous.
All right, all right. I just agree with sorry. I just agree with Ernest Mates. Just now. Maybe we don't call indigenous because indigenous are only just a tribe. So maybe we just call local genius. Yeah, word local genius is very good because we compare the Western, we are also genius. Yeah, we living we live in the life. So I think we know what we survive in our life too, not depending on the what from the Western side. So when the Westerns coming to in the history times, when the Southeast Asia in the between, considered in between the East and the West, so they come everything's here. So we become a mixture, everything. If you can see the object, everything's considered to be here, because we are interport. Yeah, you can see from the object interport. So then there is exchange going on. As I see just now, what another 3 groups showing their objects. So I believe each museum have the same object. So yeah, the same object. My museum have it. So yeah, that's all. My just think about that. Maybe we choose the right word to replace the indigenous. Yeah, that's all.
That's one aspect of very interesting as well. And I'm actually like going back to like the conclusion one, because I know the conclusion guy, you know, over the months they were like, how can we conclude, like Susan? I know she was like, how can we conclude? We haven't seen like the first 3 parts of the story yet. But I think you did a very good job. But do you think from listening to the previous 3 groups and you see your conclusion at the moment, what else do you think could be added into the conclusion, or how differently you want to portray it aside from the land and the air? Do you want to add something like, say, in like from the religious one, they have a lot of stuff on intangible heritage as well, which is kind of interesting and something very, like, you know, overboarding bonding or something. Anybody from group 4 would like to say something? Or Brian, you turn on the camera, you want to say something, please?
Yeah, just to raise a question about uh, if, because earlier on we were told that each museum could only select up to 3 objects to feature in the showcase. So if it's possible to do more than that, then are we looking at the possibilities of doing that so that we give a wider sort of picture and we are not limited by the the limit of the objects to
Yeah, I
better
think
bring across the narrative.
the information about the number of object was a bit mixed because we have like so many assignments, but it was like the individual assignment was like something like 3 or 10 or something. But from like how the thing flows, I think it could be more. And particularly like if it's been integrated into all, but of course, like if like the objects that you're selecting has not been digitized by the museum. For example, if it's been digitized by your museum already, that's a good thing for us. But if not, then we're gonna have to budget for like, the entire photogrammetry digitization of something. So be careful of it. But at the same time, we'll jump into that challenge of adding in more number of objects. Why not? Thing can change every minute. Yeah.
So, LK, sorry to jump in. Could that actually be part of this kind of extended peer-to-peer review where
Yes.
where instead of limiting themselves to 3 objects as
Yeah.
Brian has asked, I think the first thing that everyone could do is, having listened to all 4 presentations, y'all can
Yes.
furnish a list of objects that you know and recognize,
Yes.
which could help to enhance pillar 1 or pillar 4. So you could be part of pillar 2, and I'm just thinking aloud. For instance, Kathy and colleagues at the Lee Kong Sien could already provide for a lot of objects and materials that help Sharul to illustrate the colonial practices and colonial knowledge production around animals, right? So I'm just thinking aloud in terms of how y'all can help to enhance each other's object lists and perhaps even provide links for further research.
So would that be something of a kind of homework or something, so to say, that we could ask people to put in a bit more after this meeting? That we would like, I'm going to send in the recording of each of the presentation. I'm going to chop it down into some like, a 10-minute pieces. And we would ask like, I'll send like, for example, to task force 1, 2, 3. To task force 1, I'll send the presentation of 2, 3, 4, for example, and you review and you can input from your first review, like recapping of this workshop, and you add in what objects that you think is actually also more relevant to the storyline that they're doing. But at the same time, it's like a vice versa. If you also think that their storyline needs some add on, you can also suggest. So that, do you mean that, Priya?
Yes, yes, LK. The format, and the timeline for these kind of recommendations and suggestions, I'll leave you to decide that. But if we go back to our internal discussions, we did say that it would be useful for my team and I to be able to look at these additional objects while we are storyboarding. So I'm wondering if all this could go in a shared Google Doc.
Yes. We will try to make a kind of form that is easy and painless for people to put in their peer-to-peer comment, but at the same time, you can also grab it from the other end.
Yeah.
We'll try to make it very, very convenient for everyone, but let me think of how to do that. I love that I have to
Tech problems.
pivot
Yes.
every time. Yes. So
I think we've kept Hazim waiting for long.
Yeah.
I see his hand.
yes, because sorry, please.
Okay. I think the word ingenious is correct in these terms to use. Sorry, Cheryl, but I think when we do this, we are referring to the people in the past. So I guess the use of indigenous in our text might be right, because we are talking about people in the past historically. So we're not talking about people in modern world. And secondly, I realized in Katie presentation, she mentioned about few items that we also have in our group, which is the bronze drum and coconut grater. We also have that in our group as well. So can we do that for this online exhibition? I think the solution for this is for everyone to share their list of artifacts and
Yeah.
specimen, and then as well as to share their content as well for the panel, so that we can analyze and conclude everything in our conclusions. And
Sure.
lastly, I like the idea when Katie mentioned the name of museums in every artifacts and specimens. It shows appreciations indirectly. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Hasim. I think Sharul, please, to respond.
Sorry, because too many ideas coming and coming, too many things. So we just forget, because when from my experience, when we did exhibition, we need to know where we want to go, what the objective. We have no objective now. We just yes, we just aware animals and history, everything, but what kind of objective for this exhibition? We know the objective of the project is a shared heritage, but what kind of objective for this exhibition? What we want to show to the people? That is what we need, because from that, after we know the objective, we know what we want. Now we don't have objective yet. Either we sharing heritage through the animals, or animals it become a learning process for us, or animal it become a strong part of in our life, or whatever. We need that words to make the exhibitions to go strong. You know, the objective of this exhibition, what kind.
Yes.
And that's then after that, we can see that every Asian we be related to each other. That's
Thank
that's
you,
my
Sharul.
just
I
Yes.
can give a quick answer. I don't know if it's okay. Like,
Yes, sure.
a small answer. I don't know if it will be to satisfaction, Sharul, because of course it's open to your amendments. But I think from our perspective, the idea, well, the overall objective is world peace, you know, and shared heritage, and we hope that the exhibition would allow us to look at our countries, not seeing borders, but seeing oh, sorry, my cat is crying. But different partition of borders that are not national, that are not states, that we can look at some animals and we can see, oh, this animals look in this area that is over Malaya, and not separate by the borders of or this object and this cultural practice is all over. And then we can have different maps, and the maps are not separated by the state borders, but by cultural practices. So I think that's one of the objectives. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Priya.
could I
Yes.
jump in there? Okay, so Sharul, I have a few responses. I understand this question, and I'm sure this might be a question that you all share, and you've articulated it on behalf of the participants, right? I think there are a couple of things going on here, in that we are clear that this is a multi-author project. We don't want this to be top-down. The easiest way would have been to have the workshop, to get you all to generate lists perhaps of favorite objects, and to just produce the exhibition. So, you know, I hope that everyone recognizes that there is an element of going back and forth to be able to exchange our ideas and then arrive at something which speaks to all of us. If I have to summarize what this exhibition is about, I think we are looking at animals in terms of their material, artistic, religious expressions, and how these expressions are arrived at over a long period of time, right? These expressions were never fixed. So they've been transferred, they are borrowed, they've been reconfigured, whether on a porcelain cup or whether in the form of a dance or a musical performance. So we really are looking at animals in myriad kind of tangible and intangible expressions, which I repeat have been exchanged, you know, they've traveled and they've been reconfigured over time and across place. In terms of how we place these various expressions and our inquiry, of course, it's going down in the form of a web-based exhibition. And I think the end goal, as we discussed the last time, is to ensure that this exhibition serves as a teaching and learning resource, perhaps for high school and undergraduate students at least, right? And therefore, our emphasis on y'all keeping a record of the articles or books that y'all are referring to or museum websites, so that we at the end can generate a list of sources that our end users can go back to. We could even have a board where we come up with a glossary. So, just these terms that you all are suggesting, indigenous, local, genius, how do we complicate these terms and what are our thoughts? So we could even come up with a glossary, which is some kind of a working document. So these are my broad responses at this point in time. And I hope that, it's satisfactory. I mean, I hope I've been able to answer your questions somewhat.
Sharul, did we?
I'm just okay. I know it's about the project objective. The project objective is togetherness, but the what is the objective of this exhibition? Indeed, what kind of animals? I mean, what kind of animals, and then the exhibition itself. We want to show what? Our strong, our animals influence. Something like that. Yeah, it's something like when we.
Okay, I got
Yes,
you.
yeah.
I think that would be answered by the name, the selected name of the exhibitions, which
Yeah.
basically is like a whole mess of something quite similar in terms of what it conveys. But I'll let you see it and we can discuss more on this particular point, which is really good, like make it clear at this stage. We were under the impression before that the objective of the project itself, the message of interconnectedness and all, is going to be the objective. The objective of this particular exhibition is to convince people that the intercultural relationship, the interconnectedness is something that to yearn for, aside from, to feel individual, to feel nationalist, or to feel separated. So that's the kind of feeling that we would like to convey at the end of the exhibition. But at the same time, I understand you, like why do we use animals as a vehicle of message at the beginning? Because somehow animal is something that you can share with regardless of the borders of the countries and all. It was something that we have identified in our Bangkok workshops, and it becomes something stuck in our mind that is so attractive, so fun to work with, I think. And emotionally, we kind of go along with this very nicely. So if you would let us go on to the next section of our thing, because everybody, really sorry, we're gonna go over time. And undoubtedly, but we're going to try to make this soon. But which also means that we will have to give you some of the, side assignment, like a very polite one, which we're going to communicate through WhatsApp and emails through way of like Google Form, just make it very convenient for you. So if we go on to the next part, which I will also let Priya explain the entire rationale of our thinking, because we were arguing over this thing after we get the vote result. It was like, everybody just voted on quite exact the same three things, and we were trying to wait between different ones. So Priya, I'll give you the floor to explain our rationale of selecting.
Yeah. This also goes back to Sharul's sort of bigger question, right? What exactly are we trying to do with this exhibition? So I believe you all generated these very beautiful and meaningful titles. I sat and dissected each of these word by word to see how these titles speak to the direction of our exhibition and to the larger project within which this exhibition is situated, right? Because UNESCO has a larger framework of shared heritage, and this exhibition is but one component. So I'm just going to very quickly take you all through this. And what I've tried to do is to combine 2 or 3 titles and come up with a revised title. But I want you to know that my revised titles are not the final ones, for the simple reason that, as I mentioned earlier in response to Sharul's question, the exhibition storyline is still evolving. And so perhaps there's a need at the end to readjust our title to speak to the exhibition, right? So very quickly, scaled, feathered, and finned creatures in creations that bind Southeast Asia. I love the term creatures because it is all encompassing to, to include different kinds of faunal species. And creations, again, is useful because it refers to different kinds of artistic genres, whether visual or performing art genres. So everything from ceramics to textiles to music and storytelling. The next title, again, scaled, feathered, and finned, which I think is very, very catchy, very appealing. The extended title, Shared Heritage Through Animals, really speaks closely and directly to UNESCO's overarching project, right? Shared heritage in Southeast Asia, within which this exhibition is situated. Birds, beasts, and oceans. Now, oceans tends to emphasize the sea, and I can see where this is coming from because we discussed maritime networks so much. So we're referring to the sea as a habitat for a variety of species, but also as a space for transport, mobility, and movement. But then my question is, what happens to land or forest-based habitats? And some of you are referring to species that live on land. And in fact, we saw that the conclusion looks at air, land, and sea. So we might have to rethink the word oceans in the title main. Right. I didn't mean to strike off in creations at this point, LK. It was meant to be retained, but that's okay. It was meant to be struck off in the next slide. So very quickly, myths and matters. This is actually, again, a beautiful title because it speaks to both text and image, or to abstract stories, belief systems, and ideas, and their tangible representation, right? Because matter represents artistic matter. It also speaks to the body of the animal as matter. So I think myths and matters would actually even mirror or echo the overall flow or rhythm of the exhibition, where we tend to alternate between a given story, a mythology, a sort of abstract belief, and then its kind of tangible representation, whether as an object, a dance, or a song. And then I thought that creations could eventually be dropped, but I will show us that combination in the next slide. So here are some revised or reworked titles, but which I repeat are by no means final. So I wondered what it would be like to bring scaled, feathered, and finned creatures in myths and matters that bind Southeast Asia, right? But creatures is also kind of suggested through the word matter. And so I wondered if creatures could be dropped in the interest of brevity. And so we could have scaled, feathered, and finned. I'm on the second title here, Matters and Myths That Bind Southeast Asia. And further down, the third option is again to drop creatures, because really creations stand in for two kinds of things that we're looking at. Animals as creations, they could be perceived as divine creations or generally creations, and then the artistic creations that we're referring to in terms of both tangible and intangible heritage, right? So if you see, we've really sat and dissected each of these titles to see which one speaks most closely to all four pillars. But as I said, eventually we may have to adjust these titles to fit the scope of the exhibition or the storyline which we finalize. So perhaps, LK, we could leave that slide and maybe invite the participants to comment.
Yes. And I think this somehow kind of, make a very tangible suggestion to try to answer Cheryl's question as well, in a way, like how we see things and how these have functions in communication, so to say. So anybody would like to jump in and choose the first one, the second one, the third one? I mean, I mean, the second one or the third one, so to say.
I mean, I think, LK, as I said, we could just leave
Mhm.
these three. We could keep these three and the preliminary titles
Yes.
with us.
Yes.
It's a little bit like writing a PhD or a master's thesis,
Yeah.
where
This
some
is
candidates want to have a guiding title to be able
uh-huh.
to come up with the abstract, and then you keep revising both, right, till you
Yes.
finalize your research. So
Until the
none are
last
ever,
minute
yeah,
before you launch the the
indeed.
exhibition we're gonna choose.
Indeed. And then the title
Yeah.
is changed yet again by the publisher to make it
Mhm.
more appealing to a wider audience.
Of
So
course.
what I suggest is that we could keep all these titles with us in the shared doc
In our mind.
or
Yes.
in the shared Google Doc.
Yes.
And people can even leave comments to say what fits their particular segment the most.
Sure. But anybody would like to feedback now in retrospect of our result of the vote? But yes, I see hands coming up.
Sorry, talk too much.
No,
Okay,
not at all.
okay,
Please.
Priya, I love the scale, feather, and fin. It's a very good one because it's very catchy. Because young generation, what the scale, what the feather, what the fins, people want to know. But if we go the catchy and the catchy, another one, the subtitle is another add-on, creature in the middle method. It's kind of catchy more. I believe for me, we go to something in mystery, and then another one is go straightforward. I think scale, feather, and fin is mystery. The word is a mystery. But creation that binds Southeast Asia is straightforward. Very straightforward. That is people understand. So what when we say the scale, feather, and fin, people don't understand what is this thing. If the maybe creation that binds Southeast Asia, then straightforward. People will be understand that. Yeah, that's my
Yeah, I fully agree with
True.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think somehow it answers that in this exhibition, the objective of our talking is to talk about the creation that connects, that binds the Southeast Asia together
Yeah,
very
the word
clearly as well, right?
yeah, the word binds, I think, brings out that connection with sharedness that we're really aspiring to.
Without having to say share.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? I would love to hear voices from
I just wondered
Thailand. I'm
if
not the
Tim,
only Thai person speaking.
LK, is Tim still
Sorry.
here with us?
Tim's still here.
Yeah, maybe we could hear from Tim.
No, Tim's not here.
Oh, okay.
Tim's not here. Okay. But he will hear us calling him in the recording. But so anybody, Kun Mutita, Kun Panomkon, or Budi, would you like to say something? Or Kun Gandarat and Kun Insasha, or Jar, Hayati? Or our friends from Brunei, Kun Erdi, Kun Adam? Anyone would like to jump in? Because all this title is one of the, the bird child of your beautiful work as well, your vote and your suggestions of things that came up and we just grabbed from you. Everybody was like, let's go. Anyway, can we just for the interest of time, everyone, I know that it's been late. So we're going on to the discussion on the digital strategy process presentation. Priya, would you like to explain a bit, or this could also be carried on in the next time we meet as well?
Yeah, I think now there's a lot of work for my team and I. So with all this wonderful research and these themes that the various task forces have identified and their object lists, basically it's our job now to see how to visualize this exhibition. So of course, the last task force, Hazim's group, has given us this idea that y'all would like to go with an interactive map, right? But there's a chance that all 4 pillars have a different idea of how they wish to visualize their segment, but how do we unify all 4 in a common storyboard, right? So do we open with a spatio-temporal map? Do we open with an infographic? So I think we could leave this for the next time, LK, where my team brings a draft draft storyboard.
Definitely. Yes. But this is a food for thought for everyone. This is what we're going to ask you next time when you start seeing our draft 0 of the storyboard. And you have to have something in your mind, like the vision that you have, like how do you want to see it start? How do you like to see the whole, exhibition? If you're going into a virtual exhibition, how do you find most comfortable when a story begin to tell you something? So that's the thing that we'd like to hear from you in the next workshop as well. So lastly, that's my part. This is what we can promise you. So the next steps that we're going to do, like upcoming outputs that we're doing, the first thing is the peer-to-peer inputs that we're going to send you a form to gather your insights on what kind of what objects you would like to add in other people's sections, basically. And the first version of the digital storyboard will be presented in the next time by Priya. The shared also explain for the shared understanding of the visual direction and everything that we can discuss there on the digital strategy and the shared way that we understand how things are visualized as a way to tell stories. And we will also update you on some of the social media posts that are live. We will update you quite constantly, maybe at the minute by WhatsApp group as well, so you can share promptly. Then next step after this, we're going to have work plan on how we're going to digitize objects, some of the objects from different museums that are not very high resolution digitized, how we're going to do that. We're going to start discussing, because after the virtual exhibition is launched, we will distribute the grants to different of the 10 museums, to all the 10 museums, we hope, upon your submission of your proposed plan of how you want to make a physical corner at your museums that is about our exhibition, showcasing the objects selected from your museum. So that's why our initial idea was that it would be very, very ideal if the objects being featured at the virtual exhibition are mostly from your museum. So you can also show the real object at your museums. We have the visual graphic elements and everything that you can promptly, print and use for decorating your exhibition sections at the museum. So that will be something that we actually look for as the end picture of things, to also have the virtual and the physical one at all 10 museums. Then we're going to identify the museum educators. The thing is that we already have 3 museum educators among our team, right? We have Brian, we have Kun Insasha, and I think we have Kun Chomsi as well, who we will go after you to exploit your expertise. You're going to know what we want from you later. Then we're going to start contracting the web developer and hand over the storyboard work from Priya to them, and they're going to start making it into an actual being. Next online workshop is on the 19th of February, which is the 3rd Thursday again. And the discussion for that time, aside from the showcasing of the first digital storyboard, getting your visual direction, will be on the discussion of the education strategy that we're going to have. Oh, yes, Lee, sorry. Yes, Kun Tian. It's Chinese New Year. Okay, we're going to reschedule that.
Yeah, our first day for fasting, then I will be
That's why
tempted.
Carol was like, "Are you sure?" It's like, yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm less Chinese than anybody else in the world. I will reschedule that. So sorry. It's a holiday. So can I pivot now? And I will say the next Thursday after the 19th, then I will put the rescheduling request. So it's the Thursday, the 26th, please, if that's okay for everyone. I'm so sorry. Yes, your mind will be somewhere else on the 19th. I'm pretty sure mine would be as well. My ancestor will kill me. So, 26th, everyone, sorry for that. 26th of February, we're going to meet. Thank you. So, without taking too much of your work time today, thank you again for your time, your dedication, your hard work, your ideas, your inspirations, and everything. We'll send out the rescheduling, and secondly, after that, the peer-to-peer form for you to fill in, adding your wish list of objects to put into other people's section. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed your
Thank
presentation.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a lovely evening
Enjoy. Bye.
and happy Chinese New Year.